Hi, so good evening once again. My name is Richa Mehta, and I will be conducting your session for today. So, just because it's an online session, I'll just first give some heads up of few technical things. In case anywhere in between you find my voice lagging or cracking, please make sure that you let me know either by messaging on the Google Meet itself, so that I know that I'm not clearly audible to you. And if you have any questions or anything that you need to ask in the middle of the session, you can always stop me and get it cleared. All right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, of course, all of these exams, when I talk about MBA entrance exams, so your CAT, your NMAT, your SNAP, your ZAT, all of these more or less they cover the same topics. So as far as the learning and the teaching goes on, the topics covered would be same, but definitely each and every exam is different in terms of its pattern, is different in terms of difficulty level, which is why there is very small percentage of um, that specific exam based preparation or mindset required. But as far as your studies are concerned, what we learn is going to be applicable to all these exams. Fine. So before we start with our curriculum for today, of course, let us at least be sure that we all are aware about what. So, of course, our main exam that we'll be focusing on is CAT, and under the umbrella of CAT, all the other exams will be automatically covered. Right. So, when our main primary focus is CAT, let's try to first be sure that we are all on the same page regarding what the exam is, what is expected out of you, what is the pattern, and what can you expect out of the exam, out of this preparation throughout. So, tell me what you know about CAT. I'm sure we all know that CAT has what, three sections: quantitative ability, analytical reasoning and data interpretation, and verbal ability. Right? Okay. How many total questions does CAT have? Any idea?
66.
Yes, CAT comprises of total 66 questions, right? And these 66 questions are not equally divided among the sections, but one section has 24 questions, one section has 20, one section has 22. So it is not equally divided, but each section has equal time limits. So my entire CAT is of 120 minutes, where each section you are given 40 minutes each to solve the section. Fine. So 24 questions are for VARC section, 20 questions are for DILR section, and 22 questions are for Quant section. Every section, the questions are different, but every section you get 40 minutes to solve. Fine. And in all the sections, so there are two types of questions that you'll get. One is MCQ type, where you have questions followed by four options, in which the marking system is you're going to get +3 for correct answer and negative 0.33 for wrong answer. So that is about the sections, the time limit. Marking system is +3 for correct answer, -1 for incorrect answer. But there are also few questions which are called TITA questions, TITA, where you are supposed to enter the answer in the text box. You don't have options for those. So, of course, there are marks awarded for answering those questions correctly, but the good thing is there are no negative marks for answering those questions incorrectly. Are we all understanding this about the CAT pattern? Any question, anybody?
No.
Right. So this is about the pattern. Now, chalo, that we understood. So what do you think when we are now beginning to prepare for this? What do you think should be the most important thing kept in mind while attempting such type of an exam? It's a competitive exam. Of course, it is very different from the types of exams that you have been giving in your schools and colleges up till now, right? So, what should be the main skill or main thing that is to be kept in mind while attempting such exams? Any input from your end? What would be very important? Is it important to answer all the questions? Never.
Having speed and knowing which ones to answer rather than attempting all of them and not having time to attend the ones that we actually know.
Okay. So she gave me 2 points. One is speed, and one is selection of questions. Knowing which ones to answer and which ones to leave is a very, very, very important skill that every student needs to develop throughout this preparation. Okay. Out of these 2 points, I feel the second point, selection of questions, is extremely important, but I'm looking out for one more point. One is speed, one is selection of questions. What could be the third point? Come on. Wrong answers are okay. What could be the third point which can be given importance in such exams? Okay. The third point is accuracy, because you have clearly heard me that these exams have negative markings. So I cannot afford to have a lot of negative markings. I cannot afford to bluff my answers, right? I need to make sure that whichever questions I attempt, at least, right, 85 to 90% of accuracy is expected. Otherwise, you're not going to score well. Fine. And if you see the ratio of questions and the time that you are given, 66 questions and 120 minutes, it is not really a speed testing exam. It is not actually a speed testing exam, because you have enough time for 66 questions. It tests your question selection and your accuracy very well while you're attempting this. So, of course, these things you will understand as and when you're preparing, but we need to at least know what we are, getting into, so that now from today, whatever topic we do, whatever questions we practice, if we have these 2 points in the back of our mind, our focus towards solving those questions will be different. Right. So, I'm sure we all must have again heard about the curriculum of CAT. So, today, talking about QA section particularly, because we are going to start with QA today, right? Um, what topics or what areas does quantitative ability section cover in CAT? So, again, QA is basically your maths. You have already done your maths in your school, college, right? If I have to broadly talk about the areas, it's algebra, where you have topics like linear equation, quadratic equations, right? Polynomials, etc. Then you have arithmetic, where you have topics like percentage, profit and loss, time, speed, distance, time and work, etc. Then you have higher maths, where you have topic like permutation, combination, probability, etc. And then you have geometry. Fine. Now, these are the topics we cover, but I'm sure anybody who has a question in mind that, ma'am, these topics we've already done in school. So why is there a need that we learn these topics again for CAT? We can just, if you were good at math in school, you could just go and give the exam. Why is there a need to learn these topics again? Anybody on this? Why do you think we need to learn these topics again?
The questions are a bit more tricky than school level.
Okay. All right. Let's say the questions are not tricky. Let's say the questions are similar to your higher grades, your 8th, 9th, 10th level. Let's say that happens. Then any other reason?
For revision, maybe.
Hmm?
For, for revision, I guess.
Revision. Revision के लिए तो I mean you can just refer to your book. You think for just revision you need an entire series of classes? See, because if we do, why am I asking this is if we don't have our purpose in mind clear कि हम ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, if it is not clear in your mind, you will not focus well. So I need to make sure that you know why we are doing this and why is it important. So any other reason you think why you need these classes? The answer lies in the purpose. The purpose of studying these topics in schools were your school exams, right? The purpose of studying these topics here is CAT. Now, how is school exam different from CAT? We just discussed it, right? What is important in CAT? Which questions to select? Accuracy and sometimes speed, right? In school, these were not the focus points. Your focus points was to attempt maximum questions and get maximum marks. Fine. So as Gauri said, that sometimes the question types are tricky. In fact, I would say instead of question types, sometimes the solution can be more logical and so in school we always have had a habit that for each and every question we solved step by step. We wrote each and every smallest step in our answer paper. Do we all agree with this? Right? Because we used to get step marking. But in CAT, nobody is going to see how you are solving. Everybody is concerned with the correct answer. Fine. So, for every topic or for every type of question in these classes, we are going to focus on a better method of solving, shortcuts of solving, because you need to learn to solve faster. And with the complex type of questions, you need to learn to understand them better. So topics bhale hi same ho, but the way that we will try to approach majority of the questions will be different from what we have done in school. Am I making my point clear?
Yeah.
Everybody? Okay. All right. So let's see a small illustration of that by starting with the topic today. We'll start with a very basic topic today, but this basic topic creates a very strong base for a lot of topics coming ahead, which is percentage. So before starting that, let me just share a whiteboard with you so that you can see the working. Again, I would encourage all of you to make notes wherever possible, especially where you find something different is happening, a different method is being taught to you. Please make sure that you note them well. All right. I would first want a confirmation from you guys that can you see the Jamboard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. In case there's any issue, please let me know in between. Fine. So, with this, let us start with the first topic today, which would be percentage. Okay. We all have done this topic in school. So, first, let's try to revise certain basics. So, first of all, what do I mean by the term percentage? Percentage. So when I say cent means 100, right? So percentage is nothing but value of any number out of 100, right? So for example, chalo, if you are told that in your school exam, which was a total of 600 marks, you scored a total of 480 out of 600. So if you are said what percentage you scored, how would you calculate this? Anybody? 480 out of 600 is what percentage?
480 by 600 into 100%.
Okay, so that will give you what answer? So when you do into 100, that will give you what answer?
80%?
80%. Right? So basically what you have done is, out of 600, if I am scoring 480, out of 100, what is the equivalent score? So 100 into 480 by 600. Can you relate it over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that is the meaning of percentage, right? So basically 400 out of 600 is a fraction. I'm teaching one small concept over here. If I want to convert any fraction into percentage, you do nothing but multiply by 100. So for example, if I am told that what is 3/4 in terms of percentage? So 3/4 is a fraction. If 3/4 is a fraction, in terms of percentage, it would be nothing but 3/4 into 100, which will give you 75%. Do we understand this? To convert any fraction into percentage, you multiply it by 100. Are we clear with this? All of us? Okay? All right. Now, my next thing is, this is done. Now, my next concept or the next type of calculation I want to show is how to calculate any number in the format of A% of B. So, for that, should I just clear this frame? Anybody who wants me to retain this?
No, ma'am.
Clear? Okay, so I'll just clear the frame. Okay. All right. चलो. Simple question मैं आपको पूछ रही हूँ. Let's say I want to calculate 35% of let's say 560. Can anybody tell me how would you calculate this? Right? I just want to know your method of calculation. How will we calculate this? You have done this in school, so you can tell me your school method. Yes, John?
We divide 560 by 100 and then multiply with 35.
Okay. So in school, you must be doing like this. 35% of 560 is nothing but 35 upon 100 into 560. See, guys, I will, because it's an online class, I cannot see you, right? But I will need your responses. Even though they are wrong, they are always welcome. Okay? Whatever you have learned before, I just want your inputs from that. I'm not expecting anything new. Fine. Is everyone aware of this method? Even if you're not aware, please tell me. Is everyone aware of this method?
Yes, ma'am. We've learned it in school.
Yeah.
Perfect. You have learned it in school. Correct. So this is a basic method of calculating percentages. Now this is what you have been doing. Now I'm going to teach you a better method to do the same question. All right. In this method, what we have basically done is we have converted this percentage into a fraction. Right? So यहाँ पे I'm just going to introduce one simple concept. So if I want to convert any percentage to fraction, what do I do is I divide it by 100. If I want to convert any fraction to percentage, I multiply by 100. And if I want to convert any percentage to fraction, I divide by 100. Okay? So this is done. Now let's talk about a better method. You tell me, what do you think is 10% of 560? Come on. What is 10% of any
56.
number? Very good. 56. 10% of any number is nothing but one decimal behind. We all agree with this? So if 10% of 560 is 56, one more 10% will also be 56. One more 10% will also be 56. And what will be 5%? Anybody? If 10% of a number is 56, what will be 5% of the same number?
28.
Very good. 28. So when I add all of these, 6 threes are 18, 18 and 8 is 26, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Do you agree that this method is slightly better than the first method? In first method, you will have to do multiplication. In the second method, you had to do addition. And what I believe is, with human brain, addition is always faster than multiplication. Do we agree with that or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what have we done in the second method is, we have just broken down the percentage into tens and fives. Okay? Now I'm going to show you still better method than this. Okay, instead of breaking the percentage into 10, 10, 10 and 5, let me break the percentage into 25 and 10. What is 25% of any number? 25% of any number is nothing but 1/4 of a number. Do we agree with this?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Like
Yeah.
50% of any number is half of number. Similarly, 25% of any number is 1/4 of a number. It's a very standard percentage, so we know it. Okay. So what is 560 ka 1/4? What will be 1/4 of 560?
60 by 4.
Karo, calculate and tell me the answer.
140.
140. And what is 10% of 560? We already know is 56. So this will again give me the answer 196. Do we see this? Do you think this is still faster?
Yeah.
Yes. But to use this method, we should know that 25% is 1/4. We should know that, what is 10%. Now, for that is why for using this method in even more complex percentages, we are going to now learn certain standard percentages and their fractions. So when you come across those, you just apply the fraction and your calculation is way, 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 way fast than your school method. Okay. So before I move on to that, are we clear with this frame and should I clear the frame to move on? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let us now study about few standard percentages and fractions. Now this frame that we are going to create is extremely important. It should be definitely be noted in your book and this you will be using till the end of your preparation. Okay. So let's start with a very basic fraction. What is percentage equivalent for half?
50%.
50%. Perfect. Now, if I divide half by 2 further, it becomes 1/4. So, what would be percentage equivalent for 1/4?
25.
25%. Okay. If I further divide 1/4 by 2, it becomes 1/8. What is percentage equivalent over here?
12.5.
Very good. 12.5. Right. If I further divide 1/8 by 2, it becomes 1/16. What will be the percentage equivalent over here?
6.25.
Perfect. Right. So where would this be useful? If somebody has asked you what is 6.25 percentage of 640? So you will not do 6.25 upon 100 into 640. What will you do? 1/16th of 640, which would directly give your answer as 40. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
The application is very important that you understand. Okay. Okay. So chalo ye to kuch ho gaye. Now, what do you think is 1/3 in terms of percentage? Any idea? And even if you don't have an idea, what do you do to convert a fraction to a percentage? We have just done that.
Multiply by 100.
Correct. So 1/3 into 100 will give you 33.33. We will use this calculation right now, but I want you to remember this by heart. Even if you are woken up from deep sleep, you should know that 1/8 is 12.2, 12.5. You have to remember these by heart. Okay. If I divide 1/3 by 2, it becomes 1/6. So what will be the equivalent percentage of 1/6? It should be 16.66. If I further divide 1/6 by 2, it becomes 1/12. So what do you think will be the equivalent percentage of 1/12?
8.33.
Very good. Okay. And if I further divide this, it can become 1/24, which would still give you 4.16. Are we getting this? What do you think 1/5 will be in terms of percentage?
20.
20. Very good. What would be 1/10 in terms of percentage? 10.
10.
What would be 1/20 in terms of percentage?
5.
5. What would be 1/25 in terms of percentage? 4. Right? Right? चलो इसके अलावा whatever percentages now, whatever fractions are left out, let us try to cover that. Let's say the first left out is 1/7. We haven't covered 1/7. So I'm giving you the value right now, but again, as I said earlier, I want you to remember these values by heart. So 1/7 is 14.28 percentage. So if I follow this, what would be 1/14 in terms of percentage?
7.14.
Very good. 7.14 is correct. Okay. Right. Then we have not done, I think 1/9 is left. So 1/9 is 11.11. So using this, what would be 1/18? 5.55. Yes. Then what you have not done is 1/11. What is 1/11? 9.09. right? So following that, 1 by 22 would be 4.54. Okay, if you might have observed, if you see these two percentages, 1 by 9 and 1 by 11, they are nothing but they are using opposite digits, just a way to remember them. So if 1 by 9, it's 11.11. So what do you think will be 2 by 9? If 1 by 9 is 11.11, what will be 2 by 9?
22.22.
Correct, because if this is multiplied by 2, even the right hand side will be multiplied by 2, right? 4 by 9 will be 44.44, 5 by 9 will be 55.55, and so on. Similarly, if 1 by 11 is 9.09, what will be 2 by 11? What will be 2?
18.18.
18. Correct. 3 by 11, 27.27. 4 by 11, 36.36. So, whenever there is a 9 in the fraction, the table of 11 goes on in the percentage. And vice versa, whenever there is a 11 in the fraction, table of 9 goes on in the percentage. Are we all getting this?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So ideally, we should be having a list up to 1 by 25. So now what all is left in our list? Let us check that. So we are done with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12 is also done. 13 is left. 1 by 13. Anybody has an idea? So again, if we don't know, the first thing that we can do is multiply the fraction by 100, write it, and then remember it forever, right? But I'll still give you the value. 1 by 13 is nothing but 7.69. You can note down the value in your books. 1 by 13 is 7.69. Right? 14 we have done, 15 is left. Can you derive 15 from any of these existing percentages? Can we derive 15?
1 by 5 into 1 by 3.
Correct. So 1 by 5 divided by 3. So 20 divided by 3, correct? What will be the percentage?
6.666.
Correct. So your 1 by 15 will be 6.66. Right? Then we have done 16 already. 17 is left. Now because 13, 17 and all are prime numbers, they cannot be derived from any other number. That is why they are left out. Right? So 1 by 17 is nothing but 5.88, which you can write it down and keep it. Right? 18 we have derived. 19 is left. So 1 by 19 is nothing but 5.26. Okay, 20 is done. Can you derive 21 from any existing fractions? Can you derive 21 from any existing fractions?
1 by 7 into 1 by 3.
So 1 by 7 divided by 3. So what will be 1 by 21? Calculate. When I divide 1 by 7 by 3, what will be the equivalent percentage? Nobody?
It's around 6.
4.76.
Check.
1 by 22 is done. 1 by 23 is left. 1 by 23 is somewhere around 4.3435. Okay. So what I am again repeating, I want that in your book, you have a list of 1 to 25 in fractions and percentages ready and by heart by tomorrow, so that you can use these in all the calculations that you come across. If you don't remember the list, you will always tend to follow the method of school, and which will make you slower than the other candidates. So if you really want to buckle up with your speed, this is must. And not only percentages, your topics like profit and loss, simple interest, compound interest, time, speed, distance, time and work, all these topics, these percentages will be useful. Are we getting it?
Yes.
Yes, so it is not optional to do this or no, you have to do it. It's a compulsory thing and you have to learn them. I'm repeating, learn them. Fine. So I hope everybody has this list in your book by now. Anybody who is writing, I'll wait for a while.
Clear, ma'am.
Okay. Right. 1 to 25 all are clear. Okay. So here again, coming back to what we started from, what we actually learned is how to calculate A percentage of B types of questions. So if I want to calculate, let's say, now you will tell me how would you calculate that. Okay. Let's say I want to calculate 43.33 percentage of 930. Come on. Can anybody tell me what would be the fastest way to do this? Yes?
We take 10% 4 times and 3.33.
Okay. So one way is we take 10% 4 times and 3.33%, which is not wrong, but it is still not the fastest. Can I split it like this? What is 10% of 930? Everyone?
93.
93.
And what is 33.33% of any number?
1/3.
1/3. What is 1/3 of 930?
310.
310.
3.0.
So what is your answer? Do we get this? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm giving you one more. Now I want faster responses. What is 56.25% of 640? What is 56.25% of 640? So tell me what can be a good way to do it. There can be multiple ways, okay? There's not only one way. It can be solved in a lot of ways. So tell me what can be the possible uh, partitions that we can make.
50% and 6 point
Okay.
50 and 6.25.
Okay. So what is 50% of 640?
320.
And what is 6.25% of any number?
1 by 16.
116. So what is 1/16 of 640? 16 का table आता है? Do we know the table of 16? 16
16
4
times
by 64.
4.
Correct. Do we get this?
Yes.
Yes. So the effectiveness of the method and the need to know these percentages, I hope both of them are very clear in our minds. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is one type of question or one type of calculation, which is a percent of B. Now, other type of calculation can be A is what percent of B. These two are different. So it's important we understand why. So for example, if I'm asked 27 is what percentage of 36? 27 is what percentage of 36? How would you calculate this? Any idea? Yes. So when I say 27 is what percent of 36, it actually in normal language means that 27 out of 36 is equal to what percentage? So basically the fraction 27 out of 36 is equal to what percentage? When I want to convert a fraction to a percentage, I multiply by 100. This is 9 threes are, this is 9 fours are, and 3/4 is nothing but 75%. Do we understand this? So basically A is what percent out of B is nothing but A of B out of B into 100. Are we clear up till here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So with this, again, we're going to go to the next concept. I hope we are at least clear with the basic types of calculations that we can come across. Fine. Now, the next thing that we are going to see is percentage increase or decrease between two numbers. All right. Let's say there are two numbers A, B. The value of A is, let's say, 60 and the value of B is, let's say, 72. Okay. My first question is, by how much percentage is B more than A? By how much percentage is B more than A? So basically, I want to see that what is the percentage gap between the numbers, not the numerical gap, and in what terms that how much is B more than A. So whenever you want to calculate percentage increase or decrease between two numbers, the formula is always difference upon base into 100. Okay. So between 60 and 72, what is the difference? What is the difference?
12.
12. Now, when I say by how much percentage is B more than A, what will be my base? A or B?
A.
A. Because you are considering with respect to A, how much is B more? So with respect to whichever number is, that becomes your base. So 12 by 60 into 100. This is 1, this is 5. 1/5. 1/5 is nothing but 20%. Did we all understand this?
Yes.
And now in the same set of numbers, if I am told by how much percentage is A less than B, will my answer remain same?
Ma'am, the base will change.
Correct. Because now I am comparing with respect to B. So my base will change. This becomes 1/6, and 1/6 is nothing but 16.66%. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
So percentage increase or decrease between any two numbers can be found out by difference upon base into 100. What you need to be very careful about is the base. Okay, on which number's basis are we calculating? Basically, if it's a percentage increase, we are calculating on a base of smaller number. And if it's a percentage decrease, we are calculating on a base of larger number. Okay. All right. This is one thing. Now, let's learn next concept is increasing or decreasing a number by a percentage. Okay. What do I mean by this? So, for example, let's say I am told that there's a number 90. You increase 90 by 20%. Then what will be your answer? So the answer is going to be nothing but 90 plus. What is 20% of 90? What is
1/5.
or what is 10% of 90? Because now I
10
want you to start calculating mentally, right? 10% is 9, so 20% will be
80.
18, and that is why after the increase the number becomes 108. Are we getting this? Okay. Next, let's say if I am told that there's a number 120 and I want to reduce it by 25%. Right? So now how does this work? 120. Now, because it is a reduction, definitely the value is going to be subtracted. What is 25% of 120? What is 25% of 120?
the
30.
1/4 of 120, right? 30. So 120 minus 30, my answer becomes 90. Are we getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is of course one way of doing it, that I add or subtract whatever the percentage value that I can get out of the numbers. This is one method of doing it. Absolutely fine by it. If you are comfortable with this method, nothing wrong with it. Okay. One more method of doing this is by following this formula. Number into the multiplier is equal to the answer. This method is important to know because I'm going to use this concept in a lot of different types later. Number into multiplier is equal to the answer. Now let's try to understand. What is the number? Number is nothing but what you are trying to increase or decrease. So in the first case, my number is 90. Multiplier. Now multiplier is the most important thing. How do you calculate multiplier? Now for multiplier, you have to look at the percentage. 20%. 20% means what fraction?
1/5.
1/5. And here in this question, you are supposed to increase by 20%. So your multiplier becomes 1 plus 1/5. And whenever you decrease, your multiplier becomes 1 minus the fraction. Your multiplier is nothing but 1 plus or minus the fraction, depending on whether it's an increase or a decrease. So now you tell me for the first question, where I need to increase the number by 20%, what should be my multiplier? 1 plus 1/5. What should be my multiplier?
6/5.
6/5. Correct. So when you solve this also, you will get your answer as 108. Are we getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, for the second one, because I am reducing it by 25%, what should be my multiplier? 1 minus 1/4. What is 1 minus 1/4?
3/4.
3/4, and that gives you your answer as 90. Very, very, very important to understand this. Whatever concepts we are doing today, exactly same concepts are applied to profit and loss also, right? Which is why it's very important that we understand today's concepts well so that profit and loss becomes a cakewalk. If you have any questions, please ask. If you want me to pause, I'll pause. If you want me to go slower, I'll go slower. Let me know because that's how we'll know each other, right? Is everybody comfortable with me up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So I'll move ahead. Here we learned how to increase or decrease a number by a particular percentage by two methods, which is a multiplier method and adding subtracting method. Right? Where can this multiplier method be useful? So again, in questions like when a number is increased by, let's say, 33.33%, it becomes 160. What is the number? Now, in such questions, if you follow the first method, you will have to use x. If you follow the first method, you'll have to use variable. How? So let's say number is x plus 1/3 of a number gave me 160. Right? And this entire step can be reduced if I use the second method. What was the second method? Number into multiplier is equal to the answer. So number into. If a number is increased by 33.33%, what will be my multiplier? What will be my multiplier?
4/3.
Correct. 1 plus 1/3. That is why 4/3. And my answer is 160. This and this are same. It is just one step lesser. Are we getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. If this is clear, I'll move to a slightly more advanced version of this. We are just doing different types of, again, questions and calculations. So when you come across questions in your books also, you will then be able to relate these methods. But again, I'm putting one more request over here. I've seen this happens with students very often, that when you sit with solving the questions, you generally tend to go to your older methods. Obviously, because you have been doing those methods since years. So I would request you all to consciously make an effort that you use our new methods and shortcuts. Otherwise, you will never be comfortable with them. Okay? Stop yourself from going to the older methods and try to adapt new methods as much as possible. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. All right. Next that we are going to look at is successive percentage increase decrease. Okay. All right. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's see. I'm going to start with a very simple question. A number 240 is successively increased by 10%, decreased by 20%, and increased by 25%. Did we all understand the question? Now, when I say successive increase, so a number 240 is successively increased by 10%, decreased by 20%, and increased by 25%. What does it mean is 240 is first increased by 10%, then the answer is decreased by 20%, and so on. Okay, so now how can you solve this question? I'm going to show you three different methods for this. I'm going to show you three different methods for this, and whichever to apply depending on the numbers given to you in the question. Okay. Starting with the first method, which is a very basic one that I do each and every step manually. Okay, if I increase 240 by 10%, which means I will have to add how much to 240?
24.
24. So what will be my answer?
264.
Correct. Now, second step is I'll have to reduce 264 by 20%. What is 20% of 264? Or 1/5 of 264? Can anybody calculate and tell me?
52.8.
Okay. So we need to be faster. 264 minus 52.8 would be? Correct?
Yeah.
And then increasing it by 25%, which means I am adding 1/4 of 211.2 to it, right? So adding 1/4 will be what? 50, again 52.8. We are lucky in this case. Any questions up till here? This is my final answer with method 1. Are we all very clear with the first method?
Yes.
Sure, right?
Yes.
Okay. This
Yes,
is
sir.
Yes, ma'am.
all right. This is method 1. Second method that I'm going to use is my multiplier method. Okay. So 240 into. Now you tell me, if I increase any number by 10%, what should be my multiplier? So first think of the fraction. What is 10% in fraction? 1 by 10. And because it is an increase, my multiplier will be 1 plus 1 by 10. So what is 1 plus 1 by 10?
11 by 10.
Good. Okay. For multiplier answers, I'm expecting little more, I'm expecting little more faster answers. 20% reduction. What should be the multiplier? Again, 20% is what fraction?
4 by 5.
Very good. 20% is 1 by 5. And if I reduce something, it is 1 minus 1 by 5, which is 4 by 5. I hope everybody is getting the jinx of it. Again, if I increase anything by 25%, what should be my multiplier?
5 by 4.
24 into 11, my answer is 264. Is everybody getting this method?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so of course, second method is better in this case. Definitely. Right. So first method was simple, manual adding, subtracting. Second method is the multiplier method. And now I'm going to go to the third method, which is a formula method. Okay. So formula method is basically to understand that what is going to be the final change. Fine. So let me go to the formula method. Next, what I'll take. Okay. So in formula method, the formula first is if I am successively increasing or decreasing any number by A and B percentages, my effective percentage change is given by this formula. I'll show you the application, don't worry. Now, how to use this? So, in the initial question that we did, I said 240 is the number successively increased or decreased by this 3. Now, the drawback of this formula method is I can use only 2 percentages at a time. So, I'll first use these two, increasing by 10 and decreasing by 20. So basically for that step, my A is plus 10 because it is increasing by 10 and my B is minus 20. Okay, so let me put these values over here. 10 minus 20 plus 10 into minus 20 is minus 200 upon 100. So 10 minus 20 is minus 10, minus 10 minus 2 is minus 12%. Okay. Now comes the third one, which is 25% increase. So I will have to do this same formula thing, but second time. I'll have to do the same step second time. So for second time, my A becomes minus 12 and my B becomes plus 25. Is everybody understanding this? So now if I apply this, minus 12 plus 25, what is 25 into 12? 300. So 300 upon 100 is 3. And this gives me my answer as plus 10%. Any doubt up till here? Please ask, huh? It can be confusing. It is very, very fair to ask a doubt. If you want me to explain again, I'll explain again also. Are we clear up till here?
Yes.
So what we have finally got over here is the effective percentage change is plus 10%, which means adding 10% on 240, my effective change, the final change should be this, and that is why my final answer should be 264. And this is the same answer we got in the first two cases also. So sometimes depending on what type of percentages are given, if the percentages are not very friendly, the multipliers may not be very comfortable. Then the second method might not be very useful, right? So depending on what numbers, what percentages, you can take a call to decide which method out of these three to follow. But all these three methods are applicable to in this cases of successive percentage increase and decrease.
Ma'am, my net got cut off. Can you just explain the third method once again?
Sure. So third method is a formula method where this formula gives us the effective percentage change. Okay. So to use this formula, the only drawback is I can only use two percentages at a time. So when my question said that 240 has to be increased by these three, for the first step, I'll take only these two percentages, increasing by 10, decreasing by 20. So I took A as plus 10 and B as minus 20. You put these values in the formula, you get the overall effect as minus 12. Are we clear up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now this and the third percentage, my third percentage was increasing by 25%. So I now take A as minus 12 and B as plus 25. When I again put these values in the formula, I get my overall change as 10% plus. Right? Which means after successively applying all these three percentages, my overall change should be plus 10%. So when I do 240 plus 10%, my final answer is 264.
Clear, ma'am.
Clear? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay then. So this was about successive percentage increase decrease. And now we'll be going to the last concept before we end our session for today, which will be offset change. Again, a very important concept and a very interesting concept also. So first of all, where do we use this concept? So let us take any two variables or any two things which are inversely variating. Just give me a minute. Okay. So let's say price and quantity, for example. So let's say you are given a certain pocket money every week. Okay. The pocket money does not change. Your total pocket money that you have does not change. Now, this week, with the same pocket money, you went out to buy some fruits, okay, and you bought X number of fruits. Now, with the same pocket money, if you go to buy the same fruit next week, and if the price of the fruit has increased, what will happen to the quantity of the fruits that you can buy?
It will decrease.
It will decrease, right? Because the total money that you have is same. So if the price of the product has increased, the quantity of the product will reduce. So this relation between any two variables is called inverse relation. Are we clear with this first? Okay, so offset method is generally applicable in the cases where we have two inversely happening things together. So let's say same example that I took, I'm going to now take in terms of numbers. Price into quantity is equal to expense. Okay, now let's say my price is increasing by 25%. Okay, what should happen to my quantity so that my expense does not change? Are we first clear with the question? All of us? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now to do the method or to follow what we're going to do, what we'll do first is I'll always assume my price, quantity, and expense to be 1 initially because I'm working on fractions. Whenever you're working on fractions, your base should always be 1. Okay. Now, if I increase a price by 25%, what happens to the price? Again, the multiplier method. What will be the multiplier if something is increased by 25%? What will be the multiplier if something is increased by 25%?
5/4.
5/4.
Right? So 1 into 5/4 is 5/4. Do we understand this? I don't know what happens with the quantity. What happens with the expense? The expense remains same. So now you tell me if the price has become 5/4 and the expense is still 1, to offset this price, what should my quantity be? What should my quantity be?
4/5 of quantity.
4/5.
Very good. And if my quantity from 1 has become 4/5, which means it has reduced by what percentage? Are you understanding my question? My price, because increased by 25%, it became 5/4. Now my quantity is becoming 4/5. So clearly the quantity is reducing. ये तो clear हो गया? Now by how much? So 1 minus 4/5 is what fraction?
20%
Yes,
decrease.
correct. I'm going to stop here and first let you be clear about what we have done. Anybody who has a question, please ask. Yes? Are we clear about what's happening here?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll give you more questions of the same type. Okay, let me see how much clear are we. Okay. So again, if I take the same two variables, right? Price into quantity is expense. Let's say my price is increasing by 33.33%. What happens to my quantity if my expense remains same? Come on, tell me the answer.
Quantity is 3/4.
Mhm. So in terms of percentage, what has happened to the quantity? What she said is correct. Price ka multiplier is 4/3, and which is why to offset it, quantity has to be 3/4 is equal to 1. So initially price and quantity and expense is 1. So if the quantity becomes 3/4 from 1, which means it has reduced by 1/4. Do we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the reduction in terms of percentage?
25%.
25% less. Are we getting this, all of us?
Yes.
Okay. Let me give you one more question then. Let's say my price is reducing by 10%. What happens to my quantity so that my expense is maintained? Yes, what is the change that we see here?
1 by 9.
Which is what percentage? Did we understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Price is reduced by 10%, so it becomes 9 by 10. To offset it, quantity becomes 10 by 9. So if something becomes 10 by 9, which means it has increased by 1 by 9, and that is 11.11 percentage. With time, you should be able to do faster. Okay? All right. So last question before we end this. Let's say my price has increased by 20%. What should be the change in my quantity such that my total expense also increases by 10%? So now how will you write the multipliers? What will be the multiplier for increasing in 20%?
6 by 5.
Very good. Quantity I don't know, I'm writing X. What will be the multiplier for expense?
11 by 10.
Right? That is the only change in this. So 5 ones are, 5 twos are, get cancelled. So your X becomes 11 by 12. So when something is 11 by 12, which means first conclusion, has the quantity increased or reduced?
It's produced.
Reduced. Reduced by how much?
1 by 12.
1 by 12. And 1 by 12 is, from your list, you will come to know 8.33 percentage. So this is where list comes handy. Clear up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop with the concepts for today. What we did was basic methods of calculating a percentage of B. A is what percentage of B, right? We did a nice list of basic fractions and their equivalent percentages. We did successive percentage increase decrease, regular percentage increase decrease, and offsetting method. I hope it has gone well into your heads.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Great. So with this, we'll be ending the session for today. If you have anything to share or let me know right now, you can definitely do that. Not a problem. I hope the speed and the method was all clear to all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
It
Oh,
was
Yes,
clear.
ma'am.
perfect.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, then. Thank you so much. We'll be definitely meeting soon for the other sessions.